Hello and welcome back to Age of Empires 2, where we are going to be doing a playthrough of the historical Battle of Hastings. On this map we play as William the Conqueror, and we have to sail across the English Channel and take down the castle of Harold, the English king. This is one of the original Battles of the Conquerors from the Conquerors expansion. It's a really fun map. We also get to play with Harald Hardrada, the Viking king, who is kind of like a throwing axeman on steroids. A lot stronger, a lot faster, a much better unit in general. Before we jump in, I will just quickly mention that there will be a playlist link in the description where you can find all my historical battle playthroughs. Without further ado, let's jump in.
Mercenaries and Norman knights look dubiously at the ships that wobble in the black, fog-choked sea. What man is this Duke William to put so many horses on leaky transports? William ignores their questioning glances and stares across the channel in the direction of England. Edward the Confessor is dead, and now 3 men claim rulership of England. Harold the Saxon sits on the English throne, and even now hastens to fortify his shores against 2 invasions. Harald Hardrada, king of Denmark and Norway, sends Vikings from the north as William invades from the south. The outcome of this 3-way conflict is as murky as the fog that shrouds the English Channel. Harold the Saxon's housecarls are professional soldiers, not mercenaries. William's only chance is to use heavy cavalry. To do so, he must first get all of these horses onto these unreliable boats. The future of England is about to be decided.
Okay, so 2 main objectives: conquer England by destroying the castle of Harold the Saxon, and William the Conqueror must survive. As you can probably tell, Harald Hardrada does start off as an enemy, but we do get the opportunity to have him join our cause later on, which is not what happened in real life. In real life, he just got killed in the battle with Harold the Saxon, but let's jump in.
The Saxons have the British Isles well fortified. We'll need to transport our knights across the channel and use them to defend our builders. Norman castles should hold back the Saxon tide, both here and on Britain.
Okay, so this is our starting location. There is actually something a little bit hidden at the back of our base, which is a couple of stone piles right there. And as the Franks, we do get cheap castles, so it is definitely worth going for those. Even just a couple of stone piles is enough for an extra castle. Worth bearing in mind. So on this map, throwing axemen are really the key unit. I've not yet played the Joan of Arc campaign, but from what I hear, the Joan of Arc campaign is all about the Franks and their knights. But on this particular map, the throwing axemen are going to do really well against literally everything that Harold the Saxon has. Same for Harold's raiders, who are right here on France. You can still use knights, but he does have pikemen, and pikemen are going to do pretty terribly against throwing axemen. Absolutely do not build archers on this map.
We can't let his navy control the English Channel, or we'll never succeed in our invasion.
Yeah, absolutely do not build archers, because he will produce hussars. And hussars are extremely good against archers. So throwing axemen should cover pretty much all your needs, which means castles are important, stone is important, food and gold are important.
William of Normandy, you and I have no quarrel. It's Harold the Saxon who's the enemy of us both. If you declare me an ally, I'll do likewise with thee.
So in the current version of Definitive Edition, there is a bit of a bug surrounding this, which is when you ally Harald Hardrada, it is supposed to kick off the Battle of Stamford Bridge, which is a separate battle that happened around the same time in northern England rather than the south coast. But it is sometimes bugged. So sometimes it successfully kicks off the battle, other times the battle doesn't really kick off. What I'm going to do is, if the battle doesn't kick off as it's supposed to, I've decided I am just going to roll with that on this occasion. We don't need this many on gold, that is not necessary. Yeah, I'm just going to roll with it on this occasion. I don't think it matters that much necessarily. You can get Harald Hardrada on side, which is a really good hero unit, but the the berserks who join you are not necessarily that important. But there we go. When we ally them, we can see this is his zone to the north. This is Harald Hardrada, the hero unit, and he is sending his transport ships to the west to land on the north coast of England, while the longboats go to the south. So I've heard that you can increase the chance of this trigger working properly by following the ships with your camera. I personally don't really believe that. I don't see how that could possibly make a difference, but we are just going to follow them with the camera for now. I will just go back to this quickly just to make sure we're still producing things, and for now I'm going to temporarily put all of these guys on wood, but I will shift them back onto food. Pretty soon. We're just going to see how this plays out. So what is supposed to happen is all of these units activate and they go to the south to begin the war. It has successfully, that first trigger has successfully worked. The next thing that can happen is they can get stuck at their gathering point, which is around here. But they seem to be gathering successfully. Give it a moment. So they're all on the move. Okay, looks like we have successfully triggered it on this occasion. I think one of them has stopped. There we go. It has successfully triggered. So yeah, this is supposed to be the Battle of Stamford Bridge, which is considered the final battle of the Viking Age in Britain.
You Viking scum! Forget how to fight this far inland!
I'm sure it wasn't that unbalanced in real life. But Harald Hardrada will now join us with his forces. We can see the longboats have begun combat against the Saxon navy. Let's keep producing these.
Old Harold the Saxon has smashed my forces at Stamford Bridge. My Vikings will keep fighting, but you'll have to come here and transport them across yourself.
Yep, so we've inherited all of his units. What we are going to do is, because this is hard difficulty and this map was not designed for Definitive Edition, the Saxon navy will in fact harass the Vikings over here and will defeat them. So need to be a little bit careful, because they can just take out the berserks before you get the chance to transport them. But yeah, I forgot to build the necessary houses. So I guess we could do some research. Well, we don't really have enough for handcarts, so perhaps not. We're gonna put these guys just to build a few houses outside. This should be fine. Like, we're unlikely to be attacked from the north. Potentially unlikely to be attacked from any direction. But yeah, I think we're safe now to go out and to take on a few of Harold's raiders. Should be doable. And we just have a quick look down here. I'm going to bring these ships to unite them, hopefully, with the other longboats, but it's unlikely they'll be able to do too much. We could try to take down the watchtower, but I think even with the additional help from these longboats, it's unlikely to work out. Still getting used to some new hotkeys. Okay, not enough food there. Let's go for a couple more once we cancel a couple of villages, and let's go ahead and actually give ourselves a bit of a presence down here. So yeah, you can see the Huskars just there. They're not going to do at all well against throwing axemen or against knights, but he does also have pikemen, which will do a lot better. So have to be careful of those, and that is why we try to focus on throwing axemen as much as possible. And we can probably go for a pretty aggressive spawn point here. Yeah, you can see the Huskars do go down pretty easy to throwing axes. I will still pull them back, so other units will do even better. We've got way too many on gold. Right, let's shift a few onto farming. Still not used to the auto-placing farms. Would have been crazy to witness in the 90s. Ooh. No, we're fine. Okay, so I guess we could just keep our units together. We do kind of want to take out... So the Harold's Raiders have a base to the south and they have a base to the north. And the one to the south does have some stone. Which is obviously very useful. To be careful of the pikemen in particular, they're the ones who can really threaten our units. bring these down. Going to be a gentle push. We don't need to go super aggressive. We'll let them trickle their units in towards us. But we should go for a few upgrades if we can. So we are obviously doing completely fine for gold. So let's shift some of these guys onto the stone. And I think we should get at least one lumber camp, of course, just to get those wood chopping upgrades. We've got a couple of free villages up here. Couple more houses. So we're limited to a population of 125 here. Surprised the Saxon Navy has not really bothered producing. That's not the way I'm used to this map going. I will try to sneakily attack the dock while staying out of range of the tower. This should be fine. So it looks like they're not going to push too aggressively into us, but yeah, they're going to feed units in. We can see those throwing axemen do just wipe out the pikemen, and there is the stone I mentioned, and they're starting to swarm around us now. But yeah, this many throwing axemen can hopefully take out the pikemen before they're able to land a blow. I guess Harold's raiders, they do produce archers, but Harold himself doesn't. And there are, I think, possibly a few scorpions in this little base, so we're going to go and have a look for those while trying to avoid the pikemen. There we go, there are the scorpions. I'm not sure we can necessarily pull this off, but we'll do what we can. Make sure we focus those down. Take a few losses, but that's fine. There we go, we're done. Okay, so pavilion's not really a problem. Let's spread these out in case he produces more scorpions. And we should probably actually keep a couple of these around for the barracks, just in case pikemen start being produced. Yeah, I've got some new hotkeys that I'm not used to them, and I don't like them. I need to revise them after this little playthrough. Okay, so still able to produce lots of axemen, +1 range. Let's go for that. Although before we do, I think we should probably slow this down, go for handcart. And at this point, we're probably safe to go for our dock, as we have successfully wiped out the dock over there, which is great. We do need, I think, a few more villagers gathering wood. So let's move a couple of these onto that. Let's start moving this village down. Give her a little bit of protection. Make sure we finish off everything we can down here. What should I tell these to do? Anyway, a dock here should be fine. I am really surprised they've not tried to push against us. But yeah, what we need to do, and what you're supposed to do really, is have a quick look at the map, which does reveal this as the ideal landing location, the Isle of Wight. It's a bit strange because Hastings itself was, and is, not really anywhere near the Isle of Wight. But that is the ideal landing location because you get access to a lot of stone, a lot of... oh wow, where did these come from? A lot of stone and a lot of gold. But yeah, these units should be able to handle all of that stuff. We have successfully constructed this. Let's move these back. And we'll just leave that be for now. We are successfully gathering some wood. At some point we will need another source of stone. I'm going to move this villager actually down towards this location for now, but we will at some point go for the stone. Find a way around to that. Taking out the pavilions doesn't really matter, because it looks like this isn't the way. Yeah, okay. So Huskarls here, these should be absolutely fine. William the Conqueror himself should be pretty comfortable against this. Unfortunately the throwing axeman there does go down, but as long as they don't have any pikemen here, we should be fine to go for this. Okay, so we do want transport ships, but the main thing we want to transport is the villages themselves. So I guess we should be fine to do this now, because we can drop a stone wall. And of course we do have all of these units to transport at some point. But yeah, we can drop a stone wall to protect ourselves in the Isle of Wight, and I spoke too soon, there we go. I knew they would show up at some point, I don't know why I thought they wouldn't. This is not going to work. Try pulling them away, but it's unlikely to work. Yeah, this is a problem. I'll try bringing these up. Okay. Let's get away from those if we can. Yep, okay, I've misjudged that one. I thought we'd be safe for a lot longer than that. Okay, well, we do at least have access to this stone. What we'll have to do, I think, is try to sneak some units across. The alternative is we can produce a few fire ships of our own. I think we do need to go for the upgrade to War Galley. I don't know if this dock will survive for long enough to produce the necessary fire ships. I'm going to move all of these villages down to here. With a view to setting up another dock over there, as we're doing completely fine for resources at least, so let's go for a couple of upgrades to our relevant units. Let's go for the faster wood chopping. Faster gold mining I guess isn't necessary. We will go for the bearded axe upgrade, which would have actually helped in that previous fight, although most of the throwing axemen do at least survive. Fire ships are being produced, but yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to produce enough of them fast enough. It is unfortunate because we do have the transport ship as well. What I can do is I can set the spawn point over here, and hopefully the castle will wipe those out. As yeah, we have been ejected. Against the war galleys, at least, we are okay, but we need a few more than this. And this is a little bit risky too, because the watchtower is very close. We're so close to producing that extra ship, which is enough to repel him for now, but he does have more fire ships somewhere. Okay, I guess we'll continue to produce. Didn't expect that to go as well as it did. Okay, so wood is not really needed, but there's not really too much else for us to do. We do need a good supply of farms, so let's drop a few more of those while we can. Not enough space there. Okay, 4 farms there, which means 1 more villager can afford to go across. This villager will now drop in mining camp. These guys come across, and I will go for a dock here, just in case something else happens to this one. But we are producing a lot of fire ships, and it looks like we have actually got away with that, so I'm surprised by that, but we'll take it. And then we will, I think, try to transport as much across as we can using our transport ship. There is a patch that I didn't think that would be in range. It's probably for the best because it was so low on hit points that we could have got caught out by something. Yeah, the new patch that's coming is supposed to make all transport ships have 20 capacity from the start, which is a lot nicer, saves you having to go for that upgrade. Okay, we can go to the Imperial Age now if we want to. I think that's fine to do. We do have a steady source of income. We're not currently in any battles. William the Conqueror, I think I'm going to probably not involve because we don't want to get rushed. We have to be a little bit more conservative. Okay, so another round of attacks is coming through. Let's hope our fire ships can fend this off. I'm going to try this with just the villagers. It's a little bit risky, but can get away with being sneaky sometimes as we do lose our dock. Try and move out of range of the tower if we can. And yeah, this area does appear to be fairly empty. Not even sure where these are coming from. But yeah, we'll leave our units around here, we can pick them up later. We don't need to go across at this point. This is the key area right here, so unfortunately it is rather hilly, which is not great for... well, I stand corrected. You can build a town centre here. So we can now actually pretty much start ignoring France, it's not too important now. We will go for this for the +5 units, since that is not currently free to us. We don't need town patrol, I don't think. We probably don't need chain-barding armor. It's fine to go for, but I don't think it's super necessary. So what we're going to do is we are going to drop a castle over there. We can bring our transport ships over here to get the rest of our units, which is something we should do at some point. But I think key thing for now is, while we're still below the population limit, I think we do want to establish ourselves over there first with our economy. Okay, so we're over to Imperial Age. We can go for Fast Fire Ship. That is easily affordable to us, and those units should do really well for us. We're not going to go for fishing ships. Could potentially go for a second dock or something. I should probably have more than one villager there, but once we get some idols elsewhere, we can go for those. So town centre has gone up. So I think what we want to do is we want to just try to lock this location down using some walls. Because what will happen is when we take Harold the Saxon on, he's going to rush us with a huge number of units. And we just want to have a really safe base here on the Isle of Wight to push out from. Okay, so we have our 125 pop limit, we have another castle going up, which is going to help that even more. I think we just go for another lumber camp just over here. And these guys are all done, so we're going to move them across to gather some stone. We'll focus the villagers on the Isle of Wight on gold. And yeah, in theory we don't need to go for a stables. I guess barracks for an upgrade could be potentially a little bit useful, as it looks like Harold's navy is potentially attacking us, although I can't really see where that is. Too late now to press the notification. Okay, so castle goes up pretty soon. This is now up to 10 capacity. If we go for this, it's 15% faster movement and plus 10 units. That would be nice, but I don't think it's necessary. It's kind of expensive for what it is, and we're not really going to be relying too much on navy. I'm going to drop them on the other side of the walls, which should be fine. And we could have a few token units on this landmass, but it's not really necessary to have many of those. I wonder if these could take down the tower. I'm tempted to try just because it's quite an irritating thing to have to deal with. Okay, a transport ship is moving across. Castle has been successfully constructed. Let's go for the gates. We'll go for a barracks, just in case there are some upgrades we should get.
Come down off those horses and see how Puskars fight man to man.
Ah, there we go. I guess we do need these ships after all, and might need some more in fact. Okay, an extra dock might be worth building. We can also build a dock over here just in case, which I think is fine to do. We have so much wood in reserve. This one's a lot easier to protect, of course. Okay, so upgrades, squires, we will go for arson, we will certainly go for gambesons, we don't necessarily need. I think we should go for another castle, and this is where our cheap castles do come in really handy. Gonna go for another wall. This is needlessly conservative. If you want to play more aggressive, you can, but I have had experiences on this map of being rushed pretty heavily by... It's the wrong building. Being rushed pretty heavily by the various... this isn't looking too great. We might be okay. I think we do wait. You do get rushed by a lot of infantry units on this map. Let's go for gold shaft mining. Let's go for town patrol. Yeah, it's pretty affordable. Let's just do it. Couple more upgrades for our infantry, and Conscription is good. Chivalry is not necessary. Hoardings is also worth going for sure. Then out of here we produce lots of throwing axemen, just try to keep as many of those coming in as possible. And what we want to do is, once we get ejected from this, we're going to have a good number of fast fire ships. Then we can produce a couple of transport ships, go pick up the Viking raiders, bring them along, and that is when we go for the push. Got that one. Yeah, we're going to produce exclusively here from now on. Extra food would be good, so I think we start moving a couple of these across and build a few more farms. Same with this. Slightly dodgy farm locations, but it's fine. I guess what we'll do is we'll drop another mill. Yep, so as expected we do get ejected, and at that point we do have our units are strong enough to do what we need them to do. I think just for the sake of saving time we will go for dry dock. We will go for a couple more transport ships. We'll wait for that to be produced. We can produce out of here too, which I guess we should produce a few more fire ships because we will inevitably have some other problems as... Okay, the mass infantry horde has arrived as expected, and we're going to pull these villagers back. Just allow the throwing axemen to deal with this as needed. Produce a few more of those. So yeah, these Huskars can only really be dealt with. They've managed to open up the gate, unfortunately. Right, you take out the... we need a university. Potentially murder holes. I'm going to pull these all the way back to the next castle. This is why we had the defense. Okay, and this has been produced, so we'll go for anything to help our castle survive. Just pull them back if we can. Right, so that's hopefully bought us a little bit of time. And hopefully here we do have enough units to at least transport the Vikings across. Let's move up. So yeah, the throwing axemen, they do go down pretty easy, so there is an argument I think for having a few knights just to use as meat shields, but also if we just produce champions instead, those will also do pretty well. Have to get a few.
Young William. This island will remain Saxon.
Have to get a few techs in for that, of course. Okay, so elite throwing axemen we absolutely do want, and it is now food holding us back, but we have got a lot of farms coming, so that should be fine. A couple of trebuchets would also be good. And we have a really good supply of stone now as well. I forgot he gives you a tribute. That's even better. Okay, we eject all of these. Bring them to the transport ships. And yeah, you can see they don't produce demolition ships, so fire ships alone are perfectly fine for this map. Okay, let's go for another castle. I'm kind of expecting another wave of units to come across pretty soon. Just checking we've got all the text we need. Perfect. Okay, so we've pretty much set ourselves up as best as we can, and at this point we can start focusing fully on the push. We don't have the best resource income. We could perhaps sell some wood, but wood is still pretty useful to us. So we can see the Saxon navy does still have some presence here. I would like to take out that watchtower just because it's so annoying, but also it's really not necessary to do so, as there is even more stone to the north. So we can go for yet another castle. Just make sure we produce tons of units, as we're pretty close to the pop cap now. Okay, as we're at the pop cap, I will actually send these to take out that annoying watchtower, because I don't mind if we lose a few. Might as well use them to actually do some damage, as you guys need to actually go and do your job. Back these up, move them across. Here we go. So, good supply of these, as actually changed my mind. Come deal with this attack. But yeah, if we start losing a few units, that's fine, as long as we have enough resources coming in to make a push. We'll go for a market, because I think selling some wood at some point might be needed. Okay, we've successfully fended off that attack. Okay, you guys come back. It's not ever a repeat of what happened previously. We're going to focus down the bombard towers in particular. And I think we do want to be able to drop another castle around here, because he is definitely not going to let us get away with this easily. As we can see, quite a few units over there to look out for. Here we go, so the navy and the normal units all coming across at the same time. Not sure this castle is going to go up in time. But let's at least bring as many units as we can, as halberdiers starting to come across too. Do we have enough units here? We seem to be getting away with it, but Trebuchet is vulnerable to the attack from this side. Make sure we bring these right across before they start getting attacked. So that castle right there is our key objective. And I think we've dealt with the bulk of the units, so we can probably just pack these up and go straight for it. Oh, let's pull back. So just north of the town of Hastings, there is actually another town, which is literally just called Battle. And that is the actual site of the Battle of Hastings, fun fact. We're going to sell some food now. We should be fine for that. And let's just make sure we actually use these villagers for something. Okay, you guys shouldn't need to do that. Gonna go for a very insulting castle drop right on his lands. Once these are unpacked, they should resist range damage, so not too worried about that. And in fact, it is just watchtowers and things. We can see he's producing lots of Huskars, but we've got what we need to deal with those. Make sure we bring Harald Hardrada up. Yeah, the problem with bringing William the Conqueror himself is if you take your eye off him, he could get focused down by halberdiers. So it's not really worth the risk, in my opinion. The castle will go down even if we did lose this battle, but I think we will win both. And there we go, still bumping up against the pop cap, still got units coming in. The castle does go down.
All hail William the Conqueror, King of England and Normandy.
William the Conqueror is still safe here in our town. And we have successfully taken down Harold's castle and avenged the Vikings.
Harold the Saxon's housecarls looked certain to defend the crown for him as they fought the Vikings to a bloody stalemate at Stamford Bridge. Despite his losses, Harold marched his exhausted troops south to meet William the Conqueror near Hastings. William's archers and pikemen were no match for Harold the Saxon's veteran housecarls. Harold even broke the charge of William's knights. William himself went down in the fray, and as rumors of his death spread, the Normans turned to flee. William was not dead, however, and he rallied his troops by throwing aside his helmet so they could see his clean-shaven face and know he was alive. William and his armored knights rode down the housecarls, breaking the Saxon force, and continued their ride all the way to London. William was crowned king on Christmas Day. Because his reign eventually ushered England into a position of unprecedented world leadership, the year 1066 became established as the most famous day in English history.
There you go, that was the Battle of Hastings. Do check the playlist link in the description for various other campaign and scenario playthroughs. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.